Hi friend, it's Misha. Welcome to one of our mini episodes where I share a story with you that has nothing to do with your life, but in a fun way helps you think about your life. I believe when we can look at our life in an abstract way, it can help open up insights about ourselves that we have never seen before. Let's jump in. Today's story is called Somebody Loves You, Mr. Hatch, and it's a summary of the children's picture book by Eileen Spinelli. So it's a great one to grab for your family to have on hand. Mr. Hatch was a tall, thin man, and he did not smile. Every single morning at 6:30 sharp, he would leave his brick house with his head down, and he walked 8 blocks to the shoelace factory where he worked. At lunchtime, he always ate alone. He sat in the corner and ate his cheese and mustard sandwich, and he drank a cup of coffee. After work, he would make 2 stops, at the newsstand to get a newspaper and at the grocery store to get a fresh turkey wing. After supper, he read the paper, took a shower, went to bed early. Everybody always just kind of said, Mr. Hatch keeps to himself. One Saturday, Mr. Hatch stepped out onto his porch, and Mr. Goober, the postman, brought him a great big brown package. Mr. Hatch had never received a package before, and he opened it with excitement. And when he did, he found a huge heart-shaped box full of chocolates and a tiny little note that said, "Somebody loves you." Mr. Hatch wondered and wondered, who would send this to me? He was all alone and he had no friends, and yet someone had thought of him. Someone loved him. Well, he tried to go on doing the chores in his house, and he kept peeking around the corner to see if that box was real. And every time he saw it, he just welled up with excitement, and he started to dance, and he laughed out loud. He was so full of happiness. So he decided to go change his shirt and clean up a bit, and he went out for a walk. And as he went out for a walk, he had on his mind, maybe I will meet the person who sent me the candy. And of course, no one had ever seen Mr. Hatch looking so happy or smiling, walking around all spiffied up. So everyone was very shocked. Mrs. Weed tripped over her dog, Mr. Dunwoody nearly fell off his ladder, and Tina Finn spilled all the toys out of her wagon. And Mr. Hatch just waved hello to all of them. On Monday, when he went back to work, he decided to take the great big box of chocolates, and he sat in the middle of the table, and he passed out chocolates to all of his friends now at work. And he started to talk to them, and everyone was so shocked. On the way home, Mr. Hatch stopped at the newsstand, and he said, I think I'll have a pack of mints with my paper. Mr. Smith was also shocked. Was that you speaking, Mr. Hatch? Indeed it was, said Mr. Hatch. I said I would like a pack of mints, and if you don't mind me saying, Mr. Smith, you don't look very well today. Mr. Smith recovered from his shock, and he said, you know what, you're right, I don't feel well. I'm feeling sick, and I was supposed to go to the doctor, but the newsstand has been so busy I couldn't get away. And Mr. Hatch said, well, I would be happy to watch your newsstand for you. And Mr. Smith could hardly believe his ears. And so Mr. Hatch watched his newsstand while Mr. Smith was able to go to the doctor. And when he returned, Mr. Hatch made his usual stop at the grocery store. And he said, I'm tired of turkey wings to Mr. Todd. He said, I think I'll have a nice fresh slice of ham. Mr. Todd weighed the meat, and he wrapped it, and he said, you look worried. And he said, I am. My little girl is late, and she hasn't come home from school yet, and I can't leave the store until my wife arrives. And he said, well, why didn't you just say so? Let me go look for your little girl. And so he walked to the school, and he found little Melanie Todd by the swings, and he brought her back to the grocery store for Mr. Todd. And Mr. Todd was so grateful. After supper, Mr. Hatch didn't bother to read the paper. He thought, you know what, I'm going to bake some brownies so I can share with my new friends at the shoelace factory tomorrow at work. And as he baked the warm chocolate brownies, all the children in the neighborhood started to smell the yummy scents of brownies. And Mr. Hatch noticed, and he said, well, I guess the shoelace factory can wait. And he decided to share them with his neighbors. And all of his neighbors came out and decided to have a brownie with lemonade. And everybody loved the mingling and the interaction. And they all danced and had a great time. And so the days and weeks went by. And when Mr. Hatch wasn't smiling, he was laughing. And when he wasn't laughing, he was helping someone. And when he wasn't helping someone, he was having a party in his yard or on his porch. He seemed to have forgotten about finding the person who had sent him the mysterious chocolates. Well, one afternoon, Mr. Goober, the postman, came to his door, and he was very serious, and Mr. Hatch, he could tell that he felt very sad. And Mr. Goober said, Mr. Hatch, I made a mistake. Remember the package that I brought to you? And Mr. Hatch said, well, of course. And he was starting to feel uneasy. He said, I don't suppose you still have it, do you? And he said, well, I have the box, but all of the chocolates are gone. Why do you ask? And he said, oh, I'm afraid to tell you I delivered it to the wrong address. I was supposed to go to another house. Mr. Hatch remembered, oh yes, I was so excited I just tore the paper off. I didn't even read who it was addressed to. He said, oh, I hope your supervisor won't be too angry with you. And he gave him the empty box. As the postman was heading down the sidewalk, Mr. Hatch remembered, Mr. Goober, I forgot something. And he ran and got the card that said, somebody loves you. And he gave it to Mr. Goober. Mr. Hatch started to feel gloomy again. He was alone in his living room, and he sighed. Nobody loves me after all. Then he read the paper, took his shower, and went to bed early. The next morning at 6:30 sharp, Mr. Hatch left his brick house and walked 8 blocks to the shoelace factory. And at lunchtime, he sat in the corner by himself, and he ate his cheese and mustard sandwich and drank a cup of coffee. After work, he stopped for the paper, but he didn't talk to Mr. Smith. And when he ordered his turkey wing from Mr. Todd, he did not smile. Nor did he pat little Melanie Todd on the head, or bake brownies, or have picnics or parties, or play his harmonica anymore. Everyone was so worried about Mr. Hatch. They said, what is wrong? We love Mr. Hatch, and we hate to see him sad. They started to remember all the good things that Mr. Hatch had done for them. Ah, poor Mr. Hatch, they said. What can we do? Then Mr. Goober announced, I have an idea. On Saturday morning, Mr. Hatch woke to a bright and sunny day. He put on his old overalls and he went out on the porch with his dustpan and broom. He could not believe his eyes. All over his porch were banners and streamers and candies and balloons, and there was a really big banner in the yard with tons of people standing there that said, everybody loves Mr. Hatch. Mr. Hatch dabbed at a tear with his handkerchief. I do believe, he sniffled. Somebody loves me after all. And then he smiled, and he laughed, and then he hurried down to be with his friends. All right, I hope you're looking for the lessons from these stories that make you think. If there's any questions or insights you have, don't forget to reach out. I would love to hear from you. You can DM me on Instagram at myfriendmisha. I'm here for you. I'm here for you to help you take a little bit of time for a mindset check that will alter your days and by so doing, alter your life. I'm here to remind you that in your life you have more power than you think you do. by breaking it down and walking through it with you. And I'm here to help you feel encouragement radiating from your body to live the amazing life that's in front of you. Keep on keeping, my friends.